Good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dale and welcome back to another video with Crypto Ninjas. This video, we will talk about Initia, the layer 1 project on the Binance 68th Launchpool. We will cover what Initia is, its design, its tokenomic and airdrop, and finally talking about its price prediction after on Binance. Let's go. But before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to Crypto Ninjas and use our referral links for all exchanges for 20% off of the trading fees for life. Thank you very much. First of all, what is Initia? Well, if you've been using Ethereum and its layer 2s like Arbitrum, Optimism, Base, whatever, right? Then you would know that every time you want to move from Ethereum to one layer 2 to another layer 2, you have to first of all change the network from Ethereum mainnet to, let's say, Arbitrum mainnet to Optimism mainnet to zkSync mainnet, right? And the second thing is you need to bridge your asset, right? Ethereum, stablecoins, whatever it is, from Ethereum to those layer 2s, right? And it's very messy, it's very isolated, and that's a big problem with layer 2s right now. I mean, fragmentation. So imagine this. What if you only need one wallet, one account across all different networks without having to bridge? And that's basically what Initia is doing. They are basically how I would imagine a better Ethereum would be. In simple term, Initia is a new kind of blockchain network where every major app runs on its own mini chain, or they call it the Minitia, you know, the layer 2 name for Initia ecosystem. But these layer 2s, these Minitia, they're all part of the same ecosystem. It's like each Minitia has its own private highways, you know what I mean? But they're all connected to the same city of Initia. Visually, Minitias and Initia looks very similar to, Ethereum and layer 2s, but when you want to change from one Minitia to another, you don't have to bridge or change wallets. Everything just works like together. At the bottom, we have the Initia layer 1, so it's like Ethereum layer 1, right? It's the whole brain of the operation of the system. On top of that, developers can launch their own rollups, or they call it the Minitias, right? For DeFi, NFTs, gaming, real asset, whatever. So like a layer 2 built on top of Ethereum, right? Very similar to Ethereum ecosystem in that matter, again, visually, right? But there are two key differences that set Ethereum and Initia apart. Number one is shared liquidity. Now, again, instead of being isolated like how layer 2s on Ethereum's are, these Minitias are connected by a shared system through INIT bots, right? So these will be in charge of communicating between rollups to Initia and rollups together. And so how that works is, if you think about Arbitrum and Optimism, right? Ethereum on Arbitrum, it is not the same as Ethereum on Optimism, right? There are two different Ethereums. If you want to transfer use Optimism, then you have to move your Ethereum on Arbitrum or bridge to Optimism, right? So that's very complicated. However, on Initia and Minitias, the rollups, they use the same wallet, shared liquidity, and instant communication between apps, all being done through this OpenIT bots, right? So let's take an example. If you have USDC on a Minitia A, rollup A, you can actually directly use the USDC on Minitia B, another rollup, without having to bridge. Because of how everything is designed, Minitia B automatically detects that you have USDC, right? And allows you to just use it. And that's, again, all done through interwoven technology stack, right? OpenIT bots. However, this is not the same liquidity, alright? Minitia A and Minitia B are still two different rollups, alright? With two different liquidity, with two different sequencers that handles their own traffic and transactions and everything, just like layer 2s, alright? Different everything. However, because of the Initia's design, these liquidities are shared, alright? Among all the layer 2s. That's it. It's still very different. So with this design on Initia, it doesn't feel like there are any layer 2s, right? Everything is just very connected, very seamless, no bridging whatsoever. The second difference between Initia and Ethereum is when it comes to the fee sharing. Now, there has been a lot of debates whether layer 2s are leeching off from Ethereum or not, because basically layer 2s, they do not pay money or a lot of Ethereum money to Ethereum layer 1, right? So the Ethereum holders don't get a lot of benefits. But that's, I guess that's the design of it, you know what I mean? Because when you use layer 2s like Arbitrum and Optimism, you pay Ethereum or the gas fee to the layer 2s, right? And the layer 2s take all of that gas fees for themselves, and they only pay a little bit of gas fee to Ethereum, for basically to store data and whatnot, right? To security and finality, right? Now, if you look at Initia and Minitia, the design is somewhat similar, right? So again, Minitias are the rollups. When you use those rollups, you pay gas fee to those rollups, right? Minitias, and those Minitias only need to pay a little bit of fees to Initia. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much similar, but here's the thing: the Initia ecosystem is more connected than Ethereum, right? Because all Minitias, they share the same wallet, the same block explorer. Like there's no Minitia A explorer, there's no Minitia B explorer like Arbitrum Explorer or Arbitrum Scan or like Optimism Scan. There's nothing like that. There's only one Initia explorer, right? And they also share the same liquidity, right? And so these Minitias, they rely more on Initia infrastructure and user experience. If you think about it, the Arbitrum and Optimism, they don't really rely on Ethereum when it comes to the user's experience. You know what I mean? So that makes it easier for Initia to coordinate things like value sharing or incentives later on if they want to, you know what I mean? Through governance or through staking. So in the long term, I think the economic model of Initia is much better than Ethereum. You know what I mean? It's much more aligned. It's easier to reach, an agreement between all of the rollups because, they all rely on each other. Thing that I want to point out is the ecosystem of Initia, and I gotta say Initia is poor when it comes to the dApps. You know what I mean? Like they only have, these are all of the dApps. Like I'm not even kidding, like what, 15 dApps? And this is a better look at that, right? 3, 6, 15, 18 or something like that, and some of them are not even out yet, you know what I mean? And they already concluded the testnet and they're about to mainnet, so that's like, what, they're gonna be launching mainnet with these dApps only? Okay. But yeah, it's not, a vibrant ecosystem in any way, but I guess it would do the trick. In terms of funding, Initia raised about $25 million already at a valuation about $250 million. However, we cannot trust this valuation because there's no way that CryptoRank knows about the deals that they make, right? So yeah, $25 million in funding, not honestly a lot to build a layer 1, and that probably explains why they don't have a lot of dApps because they don't have a lot of funding. But I mean, who knows, right? If one day Initia becomes successful, there might be even more dApps. But when it comes to the tokenomics of Initia, you can go to the announcement right here from Binance. So the total supply is going to be 1 billion tokens with 148 million tokens as the circulating supply, about 14.88% of the total supply. That's not too much, you know what I mean? We've seen worse. So here is how the airdrop amount is broken down to. Okay, so the testnet participant will get about 4.4% of the total supply as airdrop. The interwoven stack partners get 2.25 million, so about 2.2% of the total supply. And the social contributors get about 3%. That's very good. They break it down very nicely. There are a total of about 194,000 eligible testnet participants will receive the airdrop. Each, like on average, one participant gets about 230 tokens, for the testnet airdrop. Okay, that's good. And the next thing is the interwoven stack partners, 2.2 million. So first of all is the layer 0 users, 1.5%. If you are among the top 2,000 layer 0 users based on transactions, whatever, then you're gonna get it. IBC users, again, top 2,000 users, Minitias holders, top 2,000 users. The next thing is the social contributors, about 3% of the total supply for the airdrop. Now, this is very interesting. Now, look at this. So, on Discord, right, there are about 769 roles, and they will receive 1% of the total supply. That is 500,000 tokens, about 650 token each. Wow, almost 3 times higher than the testnet participant. You know, so yeah, you better grind some Discord roles. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. For Telegram, not a lot, about 50 tokens per. For Twitter or X engagement, about 5% of the total supply, so about 2.5 million tokens. To the top 4,000 users, so about around 600 tokens per user. So yeah, now if you want to hunt airdrops next for the next project, I would suggest you to hunt for Discord roles and Twitter yappers. So yeah, these are gonna get like even more tokens than the testnet participants. So the last part is we're gonna be looking at the price prediction of the INIT token after on Binance. The pre-market price for Initia is around 70 to about 76 cents. Okay, that would put the FDV of Initia to be at around 700 to 760 million dollars. Okay, now personally, I think that is a reasonable valuation for the INIT token. However, if you look at the recent launches on Binance, they are not really performing too well. I mean, again, on a downward trend, right? Any tokens that after on Binance seem to have a downward trend. So my price prediction for INIT is going to be this. So first of all is the bear case. The bear case is INIT after on Binance is going to be at around $500 million in FDV, which puts the price at about 50 cents, and then it will slowly decline to about 39 to about 40 cents. Okay, and then depending on the market, it might pump up to about 50, 60, 70 cents. Okay, that's the bear case. The bull case is that it's going to be listed at around $800 to $900 million in FDV, 80 to 90 cents, but still after listing it's going to go down to about 60, probably 70 cents, even lower than that, maybe 50 cents, right, depending on the project and the market, but still it will recover back to about 70 cents. Okay, and the middle case, and I think this is going to happen, is that it's going to be traded at around $700 million FDV or 70 cents after on Binance, and then slowly declines down to about 55 to about 60 cents. Okay, even lower than that, maybe even 50 cents. Okay, and after that, depending on the market, it might climb up to about 70 cents, reclaiming the all-time high, just like Wallet Connect token, right? It went down and then it went up like amazingly 3x, right? So it can possibly happen with Initia. That's it for my video about Initia, doing a quick review about it. Please like the video if you like my prediction. If you don't, comment down below what you think the price of Initia should be. And thank you very much for watching. Use our referral links and I'll see you in our next video. Daily out.